Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
It was 75 years ago that sports car lovers first took to the streets of this sleepy little lakeside village in upstate New York and held a Grand Prix to determine which drivers and which cars reigned supreme. With a layout of over 6.5 miles and spectators cheering from the sidewalks just inches away, it didn't take long, oddly enough, before there was this need for this thing called safety. Not only for the drivers, but for the spectators as well. And it would lead to the construction of a purpose-built facility in 1956. And in addition to being the very first permanent site of the United States Formula One Grand Prix, tonight's venue has since played host to Can-Am, to Trans Am, to IndyCar, to IMSA, and of course to NASCAR. And so once again, we descend by the two touring car classes, all competing for their 5th time this season. And as for the Spec Miatas, we're going to see them next week when the Ray Esports Racing League heads to my spiritual home, Summit Point Raceway. And so good evening, Tim. How are you doing this evening?
I'm fantastic. You didn't miss one, quite large racing series off your intro there. Of course, Formula One, they have visited here, back in the day. Crying shame that they don't do anymore, because this is a fantastic circuit. It's one of my personal favourites, which for a Brit, like in an American circuit, normally they're a bit bland, but this circuit just works on so many levels, whether it's low-powered cars all the way up to high-powered prototypes, of course the LMDH. It just works on every single level. And she said, people who've seen this series numerous times before, what can we expect? Well, there's going to be close wheel-to-wheel action that is going to be decided literally on the last few corners, up and down the field. That is one thing you can guarantee about this series.
It definitely, and as we've seen here at Watkins Glen previously, many times, just an outright drag race coming out of the final corner out of turn 11 there to the start-finish line about halfway down the front straight as we watch Antonio Rice go and complete a flying lap in qualifying here. Let's do this, Tim. We're going to turn things over. He's going to give us tonight's track guide, as he's been doing all season long, tonight's track guide of Watkins Glen International.
Hello everyone, I'm Morgan Burkhardt for Delta Sport US, and welcome to the 3.5 mile 12-turn Watkins Glen International Race Course. As we're coming down the hill into turn 1, which also happens to be the most important corner on the track. Looking to make a late apex, that one. Coming into the final 2 corners. This one's not really a corner, flat out, trying to bend it through. Don't run over that curb. Through the final corner, looking for a late apex. This blue bush really appears coming out of the corner. You don't want to hit that. and back onto the front straight, carrying as much momentum as we circle around for another lap of Watkins Glen International Raceway.
All right, and thank you so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of Watkins Glen International. And of course, he was giving us that track guide from one of the cars that we're going to see a little later tonight, from the Volkswagen TDI Cup car. But doesn't seem to matter for Morgan here, Tim, because at the moment, as he comes out of the final corner, and he let out a little bit. He had a couple bobbles on this lap, but he is our provisional pole sitter here this evening, and he's got about a 15, actually closer to a 2/10 of a second advantage over right now, so he's hitting it pretty well.
He is indeed, but still plenty of qualifying left though, Greg. 4 minutes left on the clock, so there's at least a couple more laps left in it for our drivers, so still plenty of chance to improve for them. And well, if Thornburg has anything to go by, I think we're still going to see Burkhardt take that pole, but he's, well, already being run close by Forster. But the spot is Forster is in the pits, so not too sure Greg and get a chance to put another lap in.
Yeah, and he is leaving the pit lane right now, so he should have time to get at least one flying lap in here, as it looks like Burkhardt and Overstreet, and let's see, who is that just ahead? That is the 07 machine of Josh Soto. All, I think, maybe doing a little more practice, I think, than qualifying at this point, working on running in close proximity. Hey, Tim, real quick, because as I mentioned, they do have the week off, and they're not going to be joining us until next week at Summit Raceway. Just wanted to quickly run down the finishing order from last week at Michelin Race. Oh yeah, as they get together there, Soto and Burkhardt get together. The finishing order in Spec Miata at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and also the current point standings. Morgan Burkhardt took the win. His teammate Giancarlo Schooler at Spec Racer Fords. They raced last time 2 weeks ago at Barber, where Morgan Burkhardt took the win over Miles Brown, with Nagase Yoshikawa finishing in third, Brad Gould finishing fourth, Megan Overstreet finishing fifth. And in the standings right now, it is Morgan Burkhardt again, your points leader. He's got a 30-point advantage over Overstreet, who has 71. Another 3 points back to Beans Forster, with Andrew Wozencroft and Jim Brewster, your top 5 in the championship. And you can see there's a bit of a spread there from Brewster back to Josh Justice and the rest of the field in Spec Racer Ford. So, you know, we'll see how things play out here tonight. But for the moment, it's Burkhardt and Forster. And I'm looking to see where Overstreet is currently. Making Overstreet in the 044 machine, who had been working, we saw just a little while ago, with Josh Soto and Morgan Burkhardt, currently sitting 9th.
Unless she pulls out a miraculous final sector here, Greg, it's not a hot one for her at all. No improvement there. No. Needless to say, actually, according to the timing sheets in my end, so remains 9th for her. And it's into overtime now. This lap of discovery, Greg, of what you can achieve. And, well, I mean, Burkhardt in the pits, he's not going to go any faster whatsoever. It's whether anyone else can pip him at the post and the depths and the overtime in qualifying.
That's right. And so we know that Forster had spent a little bit of time on the pit lane. He's back out on what should be his lap, the number 231 machine, as he is now coming out of turn number 9, that very difficult off-camber turn 9, and only 2 more corners here remain. Let's see if he can, he needs to beat a 2:03.59 to get onto the pole, as he's going to come down to the stripe. And Beans Forster is not going to improve upon even his previous best at 2:04.54 the time, and I think he knows that he pulls over to the side of the road, and he is now done. We do still have a few drivers remaining, like Josh Soto here. We'll see if he can put in another time. Soto currently running 6th, fastest here in qualifying. And you know, again, he had a decent. He's had a couple fairly decent results in Spec Racer Ford. I mean, we think of him primarily as 5 as a Spec Miata specialist, but his running behind the wheel of the Spec Racer Fords has gotten considerably better.
As he's really starting to expand his skill set, isn't he, and grow into other series, and it's absolutely great to see, and he's some real success, and that momentum that he's building, it's I think next season, Greg, that's going to be the interesting one for me, and seeing how Soto gets on, because I think he could.
And you know, we'll certainly at the end of this race, you know, we'll certainly at the end of this race see where they finish up. Looks like qualifying now. All that bonus time is now done, and we're going to have the field start to grid up here. Tim, I'll tell you what. Why don't you take the front end of the field? I'll get some of the stragglers, and
why not? I'll take the sharp end, and you'll mop up the stragglers.
That's what I do.
Yes, there we go. Morgan Berhart on pole. It's getting almost parrot fashion to say that as his dominance continues in qualifying. He's joined by Beans Forster on the front row. Reed Sharnabrook is joined by, well, Mr. Saturday, although his race pace is improving lots. It's Antonio Rice, the Portuguese driver, joins him on the second row. At Yoshikawa, there's Josh Soto alongside him on the third row, with Andrew Benner joined by Andrew Abbott for an all-Andrew fourth row of the grid. Megan Overstreet has Andrew Rosencroft alongside her for row 5 and running out your top 10. Charlie Ficaro, he's joined alongside Josh Justice on the 6th row of the grid. It's from this sort of point onwards, Greg. I spotted it from qualifying. It's where it starts to get interesting with some really tight times.
Yeah, very, very close. As we take a look here, is we have starting and making up row number 7. It's going to be Brad Gould and Skip Brock Jr. I just saw Skip down at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, racing in Spec Miata this past weekend. As we mentioned, row number 8, the two Blethens, the 151 car of Ray is going to start 15th. The 150 car of Steven is going to start 16th. Then starting 17th tonight, Murphy Nichols with Danny Thomas starting 18th. Caleb Pocock is going to start 19th with Jeff Andrews starting in 20th position. That is your 10th row. Then we've got Mark Sherman and Deacon Greenfield making up the next row, along with Wayne Buttermore and Joaquin Effinger rounding out the field. It doesn't look like Trenton Kramer or Barry Morton have taken to the session. Doesn't look like they are in the session. The 444 car and the 97 car, and it's likely too late for them to start from the pit lane right now. So Tim, as we've got the field now behind the pace car led by Morgan Burkhardt and heading around for their pace lap, let's quickly talk about our two sponsors for tonight's race. We've got, first off, the Common Gear. The Common Gear is your single source for securely digitizing and storing automotive maintenance records. From photos of maintenance or restoration work to scans of receipts, users can easily catalog every piece of their car's story. Digitize or scan and back up securely in one location. Documenting your diagnostic and repair processes is as important as the work itself. And with the Common Gear, you can keep track of the steps you take, the parts and experts you use, all of the aspects of your car's history. Don't risk losing value in your investment due to lost or incomplete service records and repair records. For more information, visit Common Gear at www.thecommongear.com or on Instagram at _Common Gear. And Tim, we had a great interview with the owner of the Common Gear, Jeff Lavery, last week. And if you want, you can get more information about all their services, go back and don't do it now, but go back and view our broadcast from last week at Road Atlanta. All right, and so let's now talk about our sponsor for the Jetta TDI Cup cars, and that's Grass Paddock Motorsports, who provides Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the country. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, which is the fastest-growing class of racing in the SCCA for 3 years running, and is now the 4th largest class overall. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race instead of being in a central location, and that way you can avoid large towing fees that are associated with most arrive drive packages here in the U.S. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but about our attitude. For more information, visit www.grasspaddock.com. And of course, Grass Paddock has that great pair of prizes that they're going to be giving away. They're going to be giving an arrive and drive package to both a racing competition license holder as well as a non-license holder. For the non-license holder, so that they can go to a competition licensing school, and for the competition for the racer, so that they can take place in a B-Spec race at the track of their choice. We're going to be giving away those prizes at not the end of this season, but at the end of the calendar year. And so we've got the pace car now bringing the field through the final corner. It's going to make that hard right-hand turn onto the pit lane, and there you go. And Morgan Burkhardt now has the field. He is to your left, green flag in the air. Beans Forster to your right, leading that outside lane, and Josh Soto jumping out to
a fantastic start for a few of our drivers. Jeff Andrews down in 14th, he's already at 6 places, Greg. The pack's still tightly contested everywhere you look. I mean, in qualifying, 10th through 14th were separated by 200ths of a second. Not 10th, hundredths of a second over those 5 places, and they're still pretty much as tightly as you like. You know, nobody willing to give an inch in these early stages of the race. We've had 3 wides aplenty, 2 wides, well, that's almost been to amateur levels in comparison to the display of racecraft these drivers have been putting out so far in the opening stages. And amazingly, not one victim whatsoever, as we see. Oh, Andrews just running a bit wide there, because the commentator clearly keep it creeping in there as he preys on him, and they make a mistake.
And he gets back in line, and you know, just as you were saying that they weren't giving any quarter and they weren't backing down, as we're now 3 wide coming down the front straight. We've got Skip Rock Jr., Megan Overstreet, and then also I believe Andrew Benna in the
Contact.
71 machine. Ooh, and yeah, Overstreet gets pushed all the way to driver's right. She's going to lose a lot of time there as she had to recover the car, and going to lose some momentum as we now have running up the hill Stephen Blethen, who also has made up a number of positions. He's made up 5, and he's got a great run up the hill here, too.
Yes, well, it's all about picking this long drag all the way down to the bus stop. It's about picking which line's going to be faster as we go 3 wide into the bus stop. Hold tight. Oh, so they all squeeze and make their way through, but there's contact and there's a couple of spinners, Greg.
Yeah, we had Antonio Rice not go through the bus stop at all. That was Skip Rock there in that Burgundy machine, who got the little hip check and ran wide through the bus stop. He got things back underway. Stephen Blethen now in the 150 machine, falling back into 23rd position. And so, you know, for all the ground that he had made up, he's now lost a ton going through the bus stop there, and now falls all the way back to 23rd, a net loss of 7, as Josh Soto now pulls up right alongside our pole sitter Morgan Burkhardt as they come down into the heel of the boot. And whereas we saw Burkhardt open up that about a 6-car advantage on the very first lap, it disappeared almost entirely when they went down into the boot. And as we see cars all jockeying for position as they've opened up about a 2.5-second advantage over the next pack of drivers. Burkhardt with position going into turn 10, that heavily banked turn 10. But as the track switches back to go into the right hand, see them just now coming out, and looks like Overstreet, a lot of damage on the car, and you can see not only visually a lot of damage, she is having lots of troubles controlling it, and I think she's going to actually take the shortcut. Let's take a look and see what happened as they were 2 or 3, then 2 wide. She actually, it looked like Megan may have also caught the wall driver's right going into the bus stop, but as she had contact with Andrew Abbott indeed, and gets the tire wall very, very hard. And so Overstreet has now made it to the pit lane, and you know, it's just hit or miss for her, Tim. She's had some great finishes on the podium in Spec Racer Ford, or you know, she has these major incidents with other drivers that put her out.
It's a shame because there's a lot of raw pace within there, but I've spoken to Megan quite a few times, Greg. She's so effervescent and so just, you know, it's like, oh, okay, whatever, it happened, on to the next race. Let's see what I can do there. And no, she'll be back and she'll be fighting and scrapping away in the next race, no questions asked. But I think it just started a bit from where Abbott just got spooked by all the cars on his right-hand side entering into the bus stop, and he then just caught missed his entry point, his braking point a little.
Yeah.
Caught the curves, bounced across them on the inside, and that's just what sort of sent him bouncing across the track, banged into the side of Overstreet, which caused her car to unsettle as it already was a lot anyway. Being Rosencroft being bumped along there by Charlie Vaccaro on the run down. I mean, look. I mean, Jeff Andrews, he starts moving around left, right, and centre.
And contact there. Oh, there's going to be any room for Andrews to, yeah. It was hard to miss there as, oh my gosh. Yeah, we'll go back and take a look, but we knew that there just wasn't going to be much room for Andrews to maneuver as the other car was coming through the bus stop, popped the curb and was pointing straight at him. As they spread out here, Andrews caught all the way to the inside. And was that the, let's see, it's the car on the driver's off first. There's the contact here, and then this.
Yeah, with Vaccaro.
Yeah,
it's Charlie Vaccaro there.
Vaccaro.
I mean, it's it from Andrews heading up the inside there. I mean, he was in absolute flying form. At, one stage he was up into 10th, at making up 10 places. And I think maybe he just got that little bit too overconfident, being late on the brakes, trying to send out the inside. I mean, sometimes being on that narrow inside line can actually work for you, Greg, where you can just pretty much straight line the bus stop, especially with these cars being quite narrow. But when you've got two other cars to drivers left, it's not going to work. Unlike this lot, well,
we're seeing these three make it work somehow, but but I mean, for Andrews, and he was caught all the way to the outside, and there really wasn't anywhere else for him to go when the two other drivers got together. Again, somewhat unfortunate for him, but that may have also been, he felt maybe perhaps a little overly confident in his position and the number of positions that he made up, and perhaps shouldn't have made that move. As we continue to watch this fight between Morgan Burkhardt in the green, white, and blue number 40 machine, between Beans Forster, the 231 car, sandwiched in between, and now Josh Soto moving all the way to driver's left to try and open up the Justice had some issues slowing that car down going into the toe, and Andrew Benna having to check up. And let's see if maybe there was any strange movement there. As Justice got into the back of Skip Brock and then had to get out of the throttle there. And unfortunately for Benna, he's the recipient of the contact. And it does look like coming into the pit lane is Skip Brock Jr., so maybe he did get some damage.
Just a perennial accordion effect there, Greg, coming into play. And you've got the two cars in front of you check up, so you have to check up that bit more, which means the car behind you, if they're not completely aware, sends them in the back of you. If not, they're checking up even more so as, ding ding round. I can't think which lap we're on, lap 6, so this must be round 6. This lot into the bus stop, and well, I think we've still got another 5 more rounds based on how much time's left on the clock, as showcasing exactly how it should be done. How you can go 2 wide safely and still make it and not lose that much time. For all this scrapping and battling they're doing, they're pretty much not losing hardly any time to Antonio Rice behind them. He's just 2 seconds back, maybe by a 10.42, Greg, but that is absolutely it. And let's not forget, Antonio Rice in the 914 machine is incredibly quick in this spec racer Fords. I cover him in another Ray Esports league, the SRF Weekend Warriors, and he's always thereabouts, up the sharp end, and they're some of the best spec racer Ford drivers on the iRacing platform that we can see come out to support that marvelous series. So yeah, the fact these young whippersnappers, as we call them in the UK, are getting away from it while still battling, I think really just shows how strong and how bright these stars are. Yeah,
well, without a doubt, that is the case. And and as you mentioned here, really only a couple, in some cases with Burkhardt running at 204.5, only 0.04 of a second separating what Burkhardt is doing to what Rice is doing. Now, of course, Rice, who is sitting 4th right now, had fallen back a number of positions at the start of this race, and so it's making his run back towards the front perhaps a little bit more challenging for him, as we're looking at Brad Gould right now in the number 24 machine, and he has some very obvious damage here, Tim. All right in front of the left front wheel, and it looks like he might have had a little bit of a brush over the wall there as well. here in this battle between we got Deacon Greenfield, we've got Andrew Wozencroft as well, and then Brad Gould in that grouping as well. And a little bit further back, just kind of lurking back there, another fast racer in, but I would say an inconsistent racer in his own right, Murphy Nichols, and that number 5 machine, making up a little ground. But let's go back to this battle for the lead.
Well, what can you say? What can you say that we haven't had done already about these three? Trading places, left, right, and centre. It's advantage Forster at the moment. Soto, he's second. Well, Burkhardt trying to do it the hard way, right round the outside there. The entry into the boot, but can't quite get it done. Has to back out of it a little bit for now. And still, do not lose any time to Antonio Rice in 4th. They're still swapping places. I mean, one thing that is helping these guys is that they are bump drafting everywhere they can. Well, there you go. Prime example being displayed right now between Soto and Forster. So I think that's what's really helping them to keep away from the clutches of the wily old fox that is Antonio Rice in 4th place.
And so, I'm wondering if they are indeed on the radio together, and I'm fairly certain that Burkhardt and Forster are. I don't know about Josh Soto, but I would suspect that as the rear driver looks at the mirror and sees Antonio Rice maybe every once in a while edging a little bit closer, maybe the call comes in, hey, probably would be a bad idea for us to work on the draft for half of this. For half of this 3.5 mile track.
Oh, definitely. You can see it being exhibited once again. Every opportunity that they've got, they're pushing and shoving each other along. So any time lost from battling is then made up for, and sometimes even gained. When they're on every straight, if second isn't pushing first, then third is pushing second, and allowing them to all keep as close as they like. I mean, under attempt covering all 3 of them as Burkhardt gets the overlap on Soto, and he could even get the lunge here on Forster as well into the bus stop, Greg.
Yeah, and that's with Soto giving Forster the push, and Burkhardt carries enough speed just from the draft, able to be able to draft by on the outside, and so Soto will drop into 3rd position. But again, not a lot of fighting there. They get the passes done before they go into the bus stop. They don't go into the corners side by side. They go into the corners in line, and it's just not allowing Antonio Rice to make up any real ground there. That last time by, Rice was about 0.2 of a second faster. But as we have only 4 minutes remaining, and Rice is still almost 2 full seconds back. 0.4 at a shot is not going to get you there.
No, the gap's in fact growing, Greg. I mean, only 1 lap ago, that gap was 2.1 seconds. Now out to 2.3, straying into the rounds of 2.4. One big mention we've got further down through the field, though, is Deacon Greenfield. He's been just quietly chipping away at things, and he's now at 13 places. Has been helped by, well, a few bumps and bashes and excursions outside of the racetrack for a few of the drivers in front of him, but even so, he's up to 9th, and he's got a chance of making it past Rosencroft, who, of course, we've seen is that damaged front left, so he's going to be a bit vulnerable on the straights, Greg, where he's going to have aero damage. Now, these cars, not necessarily the most, aerodynamic. When you think of, IndyCar, you think of Formula One, cars with lots of downforce, but it will make a difference, only by about a 10th, maybe a lap, or possibly 2. So especially if Nichols and Greenfield get together, they could easily make the jump on Rosencroft, and Rosencroft could be, well, just down into 10th rather than finishing well inside the top 10 and 8. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is Murphy Nichols right back behind Deacon Greenfield, and that run by Murphy Nichols, he recovered
Deacon.
the card. By Deacon Greenfield, yes. He's going to now lose a number of positions there.
Well, there we go. I should stop heaping praise on drivers, because whenever I've done it so far, they end up having an incident and losing a load of places. So, I think I'll keep quiet about that one.
And it looked to me as though Murphy Nichols, we may want to take a look at that again at some point, but I think Murphy Nichols did get out of the throttle, got onto the brakes a little bit earlier than Deacon Greenfield. I don't think there was any contact there to initiate the spin, but you know, maybe we'll here. Let's take a look.
I think, Greg, he caught the from the angle or something. I wasn't sure whether he just caught the grass a little bit on the left-hand side where he's trying to open up the corner.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. The left rear wheel was in the grass. The rear end shifted over, and that was all she wrote for Deacon Greenfield, who now finds himself back in 13th position. And as they all come through, our leaders come through the heel of the boot. Both Josh Soto and Morgan Burkhardt, as Morgan explained during his track guide, you can use every last bit of pavement that's out there and not get an off track. And but when you do it, you're certainly running much more pavement, and you're usually not going to make up any ground here as they come into the final corner for their 9th time. They're going to be starting lap number 10 here momentarily, and Antonio Rice, he's getting a little bit closer now as the white flag is in the air. It's the last lap for our Spec Racer Fords here at Watkins Glen International, and certainly goes quickly. Josh Soto is your leader, with Beans Forster running in 2nd. Morgan Burkhardt, your pole sitter, currently sitting in 3rd, and off a little bit in the distance there. Oh, contact with the wall for Beans Forster, comes back and taps Morgan Burkhardt. And I was just going to say, Tim, that if we do start to see these drivers fan out and go side by side through some of these corners, Antonio Rice, he will be into this battle here as they come through, and more contact in the bus stop, this time between Soto and Morgan Burkhardt. Burkhardt's going to come out in the lead. Soto, who drops back into 3rd now, has got to fend off the 914 machine of Rice as they come now down into the chute in through turn number 6. And we'll see him setting up for the boot for the last time. But, well, we didn't think that Rice would get here, Tim, but there he is.
He's right into the mix, Greg, and Soto's got to pray that Rice will play ball, just allow them to catch up to go for a lunge into the last few corners, and that these two, Burkhardt and Forster, really scrap it out and have side-by-side action for the rest of the lap. That's the only chance Soto's got of catching him and trying to slip a pass. As well, it's now Virtue Burkhardt, or is it, Greg, or is it?
Well, a little more contact there, but Burkhardt's going to be able to open up that corner quite a bit. Will not only be able to carry the momentum, but he's got the inside line going into turn 9. And for the moment, Morgan Burkhardt is your leader with only 2 corners remaining. And, you know, Tim, we cannot underestimate the amount and the effect of the draft, of the slipstream coming out of the final corner, out of